Part 46. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 471. One more. What Mom said is, I think so too. Chu Xia paused for a while, then smiled at everyone embarrassedly. I think so. At this age, won't it seem too worthless? Lin Yangkai gave her a deliberate look. From what you mean, do you think Mom is worthless? No. Mom gave up her career for the sake of her family. My situation is different from Mom's. Well, I've finished eating. I want to go see Grandpa Wan. Okay. Mr. Wan was supposed to come to Joe's house for a gathering last night, but in the afternoon his daughter and granddaughter came, so he couldn't come to Joe's house. Lin Yangkai also knew the relationship between Chu Xia and Mr. Wan, so she stopped embarrassing her and waved her hand with a smile. I'm joking with you, I think it scares you, go. Seeing this, Ying'er quickly slid off the stool, worried that it would be inconvenient for Mr. Wan. Josei Kang hugged her. Ying'er, Uncle will send you to the kindergarten today, okay. After hesitating for a while, Ying'er turned her gaze to Chu Xia, and seeing her nodding, she cheerfully responded, okay. Chu Xia just laughed. She doesn't have to be affectionate to this child, as long as someone cares about her, she will be very happy. Alas, speaking of it, she is really self-indulgent. Let's go. Zhou Mikang had already gone upstairs to help her take off her backpack, hugged her shoulders and walked out. The two people's natural and tacit movements made Yu Tao's eyes full of envy. Noticing his wife's expression, Josei Kang held Ying'er with his left hand, wrapped his arms around his wife's shoulder with his right hand, and said with a smile, Daisy, let's go. Even the words he said were the same. Yu Tao's face turned red immediately, and he knocked off the hand on his shoulder in a panic. Xiaobu ran out the door. Tisk, everyone is so affectionate. It seems that I have to hurry up. Zhou Huikang got up and said goodbye to the elders while talking. In a blink of an eye, there were only a few elders left in the hall. The old lady Zhou looked at Zhou Shanping, who wanted to get up and leave. You stay for a while, Mom has something to tell you. Yeah, Zhou Shanping replied in a muffled voice, and sat back. Seeing this, the second aunt Liang Xiaohong ran out in a hurry under the pretext that she was running out of time, which made Mrs. Zhou dumbfounded. Lin Yangkai sat there in a dilemma. What excuse did she find to leave? Now for that. It's not convenient for her to stay here, but if she just got up and left like this, Zhou Shanping would feel awkward seeing her in the future, right? She really knows this little uncle very well. He has a tender face and few words. When he can't think about it, it's useless for others to say anything, and she can see it now. Chu Xia's explanation relieved the pressure in my uncle's heart a lot, but for a while, he still couldn't get rid of his face. Probably because of this, the old lady left him to talk alone, right? Seeing her struggle, the old lady Zhou said with a smile, Yang Kaiu, you don't have to think about it there, we are all one family. There is nothing to hide. Mom, I'm not bothered. The words came out. Lin Yangkai herself also felt powerless, so she simply closed her mouth and did not speak. Shanping, do you know why I left you? Mrs. Zhou asked. No. Mrs. Zhou asked back, why? I shouldn't let Qin Mei come to the door. If I didn't run away, she wouldn't come to make trouble like this. Although the matter is clear, but... Zhou Shanping bit his lip, but I did not do well. Mrs. Zhou continued to ask, what's wrong? When I didn't recognize a person, I shouldn't just want to make do with her just because I was lonely at that time. Snapped. Mr. Zhou got up suddenly, and slapped Zhou Shanping heavily on the face. Except for Mrs. Zhou, Zhou Jingping, Mrs. Zhou Jingping and Zhou Gangping were all stunned. They didn't know where the old man's anger came from. You say what you just said again. When he said this, Mr. Zhou trembled with anger. Dad Zhou Shanping looked at his father in confusion. he didn't know what was wrong with him. The old lady Joe sighed, and looked at Mr. Joe. How old is he? He still has such a violent temper. You sit down and tell him slowly, you don't know what kind of temper and brain he is. If he can straighten it out, it won't break up the family at this age. Mom, what's wrong with me, can you remind me? Joe Shanping turned his gaze to Mrs. Joe, who looked helpless, like a poor child. The old lady Joe's heart softened immediately. No matter how old the child is, she is still a child in mother's heart, so she sighed. You only want to shirk responsibility now. Have you really thought about it? This is actually the worst thing. It's you. It's me. Seeing Joe Shanping's ignorant look, Mr. Joe's anger rose again, and he pointed at him bitterly. If you don't want to be with him, why are you hugging him? Do you still think it was wrong for people to come to your door, and you are the victim? For a big girl in her 30s, do you think she is in a hurry to get married? If she is not in a hurry, do you think she will take the initiative to pursue you? She just thinks it's hard to find someone young, so she bites you. But what about you? What have you done? If you hadn't misunderstood her, would it be where it is today? You also said that she has already talked about your relationship in the whole unit, and the people in your unit also took it seriously. So what do you do next? If you don't marry her, can she still stay in the unit? If you marry her, have you ever thought about it? Maybe this is the second Lu Lingmei. A big man, sloppy and unfavorable. How do you think you are my son? How did I give birth to a son like you? Neither your mother nor I have this personality. Why do you have such a personality? The old man was talking back and forth, and he almost stood up and turned around. The old lady was annoyed and funny, so she poked her. Take a break first, let the third child talk by himself. Joe Shanping didn't know what to say. He really didn't think about it. He drank a little wine that day, otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. But these, even if the explanation is also very weak, drinking is not an excuse. Besides, he really had the idea of marrying her at that time. Although he later realized that such a woman cannot be married, he did have an intimate act with her. Although this act was not too much, it was indeed inappropriate for an unmarried girl. Third brother, no matter what you say about this matter, it's your fault. You may feel very annoyed in your heart now. Not only us, but the juniors also know about you and Chin Mei. You can't get over it? Chu Xia is a doctor, but others are not, so now you feel ashamed to go back to this home, face to face with the juniors again, don't you? Yes, Joe Shanping nodded. Indeed, that's what he thought, especially he didn't know how to face his son. Do you blame Chu Xia? Joe Shanping quickly shook his head. Mom, I'm not that confused. If it weren't for Chu Xia, this matter would have become even bigger. Not only would I lose face in front of my family, but I might become a joke in the whole circle. Just gratitude. It's good that you know, when Chin Mei came, everyone was there. This matter was doomed from the beginning. It is impossible to hide it from anyone in this family. When everyone went up to ask Chu Xia, she didn't want to talk about it. In fact, looking at her expression, I already guessed that it was I who insisted on letting her speak out. People are curious. If she doesn't say anything, it will only make everyone more curious, and, moreover, they may wonder if Chu Xia did something wrong. She was originally helping you, but if she took the blame for you, I believe you would be ashamed, right? Joe Shanping sighed. Mom, I understand all of this. In fact, this is already the best result. I just can't get over the hurdle in my heart all at once. I now feel that I must be a hooligan in the hearts of the juniors. I don't want to explain too much to myself. In short, I regret it, but I don't know how to make it up. You just think too much and have a strong sense of responsibility, otherwise, you wouldn't have let Lu Lingmei be entangled back then. Mr. Joe interrupted Mrs. Joe with hatred. Stop putting money on his face, He has a strong sense of responsibility. If he really has a strong sense of responsibility, he won't put all the responsibility on the woman. The old lady gave the old man a blank look. Don't talk about her like that. When I was in the lowest mood, I happened to be divorced. There was a young woman chasing you all day long. If you want me, can you hold it? The old lady's words were so bold that the children couldn't help but wanted to laugh, but they didn't dare to laugh, and they all blushed, except of course Joe Shanping, who didn't have any thoughts at the moment. The old man also blushed from the old lady's choking, and after a while, he replied, "If you had that kind of temper, I wouldn't marry you either. There is nothing comparable. Forget it, it's useless not to tell you these things. Anyway, you have to know that it's justifiable for the third child to do this." He never thought of Chin Mei's situation because the girl pushed him too hard. In a hurry, he just wanted to hide. How could he think about her? However, now that we know about it, we can't pretend to be so ignorant. If it is really because of this that the girl went the wrong way, our family will regret it. Today Chuxia has already made an appointment with her to see a doctor, and when her illness is diagnosed later, we can discuss with her to see if we can help her change units, or... After a pause, the old lady said, "You still have to lose your reputation. Responsibility. Chuxia is not here at the moment, otherwise he will definitely not understand what the old lady and the old man said. Why should he be responsible for a woman who is not responsible for her own life? Although she admired Chin Mei for being so simple at this age, it did not mean that she would appreciate Chin Mei's way of doing things. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 472. The second is more. It's New Year's Eve tomorrow. Will everyone read the book? When Chuxia and Zhou Mikang arrived at Mr. Wan's house, Mr. Yin and Mrs. Yin were having breakfast. When they saw the two of them coming in, Mr. Wan put down his chopsticks. "You guys came at a good time, and I just finished eating too," he said apologetically, looking at Chuxia. "Xia, Grandpa couldn't pass yesterday, so you're not angry with Grandpa, are you?" "Grandpa, am I such a stingy person?" Chuxia sized him up, and found that his eyes were bruised and black, and he didn't sleep well. "Grandpa, are you angry again?" The old man sighed. "To tell you the truth, I'm really angry. They are both sons and daughters. Why did I give birth to such a daughter? Alas, I don't know how much I owed her in my previous life. Let her torment me like this. Grandpa." Chuxia looked at him worriedly, not knowing what to say. "It's okay, Grandpa is used to it. Anyway, I get annoyed every time she comes, and I get annoyed every time she calls, but if she doesn't hear anything from her, I'll panic again. When you have children, you will understand this feeling. No matter what the child's temper is, as a parent, you will always worry about it. Sometimes you say bad things, but your heart is more sad than the child." Chuxia patted the old man on the back lightly. Hearing what the old man meant, it must mean that the two parties broke up after another quarrel. When they left, they both said unfeeling words. After all, they are the old man's biological daughter and granddaughter. She has no position to blame the other party for what she did. All she can do is do her best. Make the old man happy. After thinking for a while, he said, "Grandpa, my parents are coming over in the next 2 days. Zhou Mikang said that we should wait for them to come before leaving, so as not to worry them all the time. Grandpa will also help to lie, okay?" "Good. Okay, Grandpa will help you lie." Sure enough, when it came to this, Mr. Wan's expression was obviously relieved. Looking at Zhou Mikang, "I'll be back in 2 months, right?" "Yeah." Zhou Mikang nodded. "When I go back this time, I will slowly start recycling. For ordinary people, peace is better than war, and don't get emotional." "Grandpa, I know." Zhou Mikang looked at Old Man Wan respectfully. Grandpa can rest assured, I will definitely stand up for my post. Do my own thing well and don't meddle indiscriminately. This is tantamount to indirectly expressing his opinion to the old man. Some militants are recently co-signing a letter on this matter. He didn't intend to get in. Hear him say that. The old man smiled relievedly. Okay, Grandpa knows. You are a sensible child, and Grandpa was very relieved of you at first. Now hearing you say that, I feel more relieved. The old man meant to tell him, of course. I will tell the people who should know about your situation. Don't worry, no matter where you go, I will escort you. Joe Mikang stood up and bowed deeply. Grandpa, thank you. Chusia didn't understand what the two of them were talking about, and looked at it with a dazed face, but didn't say much. Mr. Wan smiled at her. I'll let Xiaomi explain to you later, go to work quickly, don't delay. Chusia stood up and said, Grandpa, then I'm leaving. I'll come back to accompany you tonight. We'll live here tonight. Okay, the old man agreed happily, and patted Joe Mikang on the shoulder. Let's have a good chat tonight. Joe Mikang hurriedly said, well, I will have a good chat with Grandpa at night. Grandpa's knowledge can give me a lot of help and avoid detours. On the way, Joe Mikang explained the charade between the two of them, and Chu Xia's eyes immediately turned red. The old man has never been involved in any kind of business, but this time he is so understanding and supportive of the Zhou family, obviously because of her. She believed that it was definitely not her self-indulgence of affection. She really didn't know how to repay this deep friendship. Parents living with the old man can give him some comfort, but they are not the old man's biological children after all. Thinking of this, she looked at Joe Mikang. Do you know the situation of Wan Yuqiang and her daughter? Why, do you want to be a lobbyist? When Joe Mikang heard her ask, how could he not understand her thoughts, and immediately denied it. It's not that I poured cold water on you. You can't solve this matter. Okay, don't mix it up. The jealousy of the mother and son is not so strong. If you make it self-defeating, you will regret it later. I just feel uneasy. Chu Xia sighed. You know Grandpa Wan's character. I feel very uneasy when he does this. Our family owes him too much. If he knows that you think so, he will definitely be unhappy. Joe Mikang stopped the car and looked at her seriously. Chu Xia, do you have a sense of identity now? I mean. After a short pause, he continued said, do you have a sense of identity with this era? Or to put it bluntly, do you regard yourself as a person of this era? After hesitating for a while, Chu Xia looked at him uncertainly. I don't know. Sometimes I feel that I identify with this era and regard myself as a member of this era, but when I really meet when I do some things, I will find that there is too much gap between me and this era. This made me have to move forward cautiously, for fear that something would happen and my family would suffer, but no matter how careful I was, it seemed that I would still do something wrong. Just like yesterday, in the era I lived in, it was really not a problem, so I did it without thinking, because I regarded myself as a member of the Zhou family, and I didn't want anything to happen to the Zhou family. I think I did something very right. But when I think about it later, I feel that I am very stupid. Even if I explain the matter as a doctor, will the third uncle really feel awkward in his heart? It was I who pushed him to a dead end. If I hadn't intervened at that time and let grandma or mother intervene, things would not be what they are now. Joe Mikang, I really regret it. I have to admit to you that I was so anxious to show off at the time because I wanted my family to recognize my talent and ability in medicine. Now that I think about it, I was really selfish. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. Woolen cloth. I can see that you've been holding something in your heart. You put everything on your face, and you think you're hiding it well. When you came out, Grandpa Wan asked me if you had something on your mind. It's not easy for me to tell Mr. Wan about the third uncle's matter, so I told him that something happened at home and you helped. Mr. Wan is a smart man, so he didn't ask any more questions after hearing what I said, but let me explain to you, saying that you are still young, don't always carry the burden of mess on yourself. In the end, I haven't persuaded you yet, and you started to shoulder the burden on your own again. Lin Chuxia, don't you think you always have a sense of urgency? It seems that I am afraid that it will be too late to repay the love owed to others. Like this, it's not good. You have come to this age, you belong to this age, you and I have become a family, and you have become a family with the Zhou family. If Wan Lao recognizes you as his granddaughter, it means that he really likes you and is willing to help you, he thinks you are worthy of help. Otherwise, with his age and experience, he would never give up his principles and go blindly help just because he recognized a goddaughter. If this was the case, he would already have 10 or 8 granddaughters, wouldn't he? Enjoy everything that belongs to you in a down-to-earth manner. You don't owe anyone. Your happiness is earned by yourself, not given to you by others. You married into the Zhou family because I like you. All the people in the Zhou family were kind to you at first, probably because of me, but now they are kind to you, it is all because of your own fight, you don't need to always think about repaying their love. If you want to be a doctor, I support you. You already know this, so you don't have to think of ways to get the big guys to agree. Whether they agree or not will not affect your decision. You have to remember, as I said, this I will make you happy in my life, and I will definitely do it. You don't need to do anything you don't like to cater to others. If I can't even protect you, what else can I do, right? What are you trying to tell me? Chu Xia was a little out of his mind for a while, and didn't quite understand what Zhou Mikang meant when he said all these things. You don't understand what I'm going to tell you. Zhou Mikang's hair was black. Okay, then let me ask you, don't you know what you forced yourself to do? After thinking about it, Chu Xia said uncertainly, I don't seem to be forcing myself. Be good to Ying didn't you force yourself? No, Chu Xia quickly shook her head. At first, I really wanted to help Grandma, but later, I really felt that she was quite pitiful, she was less secure than me, I have good parents, but she didn't. Well, it's time to play the piano to Niu, so Zhou Mikang had no choice but to speak more clearly, when I'm not around, you don't have to do what you don't want to do, and no one dares to treat you badly when you were nice to Ying in the first place, it was just to please you Grandma, right? Chu Xia became a little annoyed when he was told about the central matter, don't make me so utilitarian, okay. I explained it so clearly, why do you still say that about me? Okay, I used the wrong words, what I mean is, you are too eager to want your family to recognize you, so you can go for it regardless of whether it is within your ability or not. You know what happened to Ying Zhang Qi and Ma Chao, how dangerous are you? Ah, Chu Xia looked at Zhou Mikang with a confused face, she is a 5-year-old child, what danger will she have? Besides, when I took her out, she didn't encounter any danger. This girl's sense of security is too bad, Zhou Mikang stroked his forehead with a headache. Fortunately, he is coming back soon, otherwise, how can he rest assured? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 473. The first update arrives, and the second is warmer. I don't know if I can code it out. It's a busy New Year's Eve. Everyone understands. In short, I work hard. I also wish everyone a new year with everything going well, peace and happiness. Looking at the time, Zhou Mikang started the car with 10 minutes before the shift change, you go to work first, and I will tell you the reason in detail at night. Oh Chu Xia responded weakly, feeling a little lost. Zhou Mikang would not lie to her, and Ying'er is also Zhou Mikang's niece. Since he said so, it shows that things are really not as simple as she imagined. Fortunately, she thought she had seen the essence of things clearly at the time, and she was complacent, dare to be affectionate. She has always been acting affectionate, such a small child. The more she thought about it, the more boring she felt. As a person in her 20s, if she let a 5-year-old child play with it, she might as well kill her with a piece of tofu. Seeing her bowed head, Zhou Mikang knew that he had hit her, so he patted her small hand with his big hand. Don't think about it, you are not stupid, it's just that you look at things from a slightly wrong angle. Are you comforting someone? Chu Xia squinted at him. You might as well say that you are not stupid, but your reaction is slower and more direct. You. Zhou Mikang rubbed her head amusedly. Don't let others tell you that you are stupid, that's not good. Damn it, you're stupid, you're a big idiot, Chu Xia glared at him angrily. If it wasn't for you, would I have been fooled? You didn't comfort me and praised me and laughed at me. I'll ignore you, as he said, he really turned his head out of the window. Don't look at him. Okay, I was wrong. I know you are doing it for me, but I said this for your safety. Do you think it makes sense? You really don't know how to comfort people. Chu Xia stroked his forehead speechlessly. Of course I know that you are doing it for my own good, but is this what I want to hear right now? You can't just say what I want, Melodious. Sighing, Zhou Mikang said, no. Why? This kind of thing deceives you and hurts you. Chu Xia. She now understands why Yamiru abandoned him back then. This man. He really can't say nice words to coax a girl, so she has convinced him. However, such a man would feel boring at the time. Only when she really gets to know a man who doesn't care about her heart will she understand how precious he is. Otherwise, Yamiru won't regret it enough to fight for his forgiveness with her own happiness. Why did she just look at Yamiru? Chu Xia shook her head vigorously. Sober yourself up. The car just arrived at the entrance of the hospital, and she said goodbye. She pushed the door and got out of the car, just in time to meet Li Ziru coming with a lunchbox. He smiled at the other party. Li Ziru greeted a little shyly, hello, Dr. Lin. Chu Xia waved her hands again and again. Don't, just call me Chu Xia, I'm just an ordinary student now. I'm still far away from a doctor. If I let others hear it, I'll laugh my ass off. In my eyes, you are a doctor, Li Ziru bit her lip. He glanced at the car in the distance. It's about my mother, thank you so much. You're welcome, I just moved my mouth. Chu Xia hesitated and asked, Auntie, how are you? Li Ziru's expression darkened. She's not in a good condition. Dad didn't dare to leave the house to prevent her from committing suicide. He said with a forced smile at Chu Xia, we should thank you and Zhou Tuan. It's long, but because of my mother's current condition, we dare not take her out, and I'm ashamed to see you. Don't say that, we can't help much, hey. With a sigh, Chu Xia didn't know what to say. This era is absolutely intolerable to this kind of thing. When it was just speculation before, no one would do anything in person. Now it has been confirmed that some people may point fingers or say ugly words in person. She had met Li Xinwan, and she was indeed pretty. Such a woman is especially easy to be envied by others. After the incident was exposed, one can imagine the pressure she received. However, Li Linking can still guard his wife so unwaveringly at this time. He is really a responsible man. However, after the incident was exposed, how did Kyokuo's parents view it? Chu Xia sighed secretly. For this kind of thing, only the person involved swallowed the pain. It is really difficult for outsiders to say anything, especially when it involves concepts, right and wrong. It is what everyone thinks. To be honest, Li Xinwan was quite pitiful. Her forbearance at that time should be for the sake of her husband and daughter, and for her own family. I remember when she was in her sophomore year, a classmate came home, and when she was waiting for the bus in the waiting room, she saw a girl and a boy go from chatting to gluey because they were bored. Then, the girl's car came, waved his hand, and left without a trace of Cloud. When he came back, the classmate told them this matter as a joke. As a result, another classmate said, "What are you doing?" "When I was 10 years old, I went to my grandma's house by car with my mother. The train was crowded, and many people bought standing tickets. A man in his 30s sat next to us. It was a standing woman, and then, in order to occupy a place, the woman let the man hold her and treat her frivolously." And then a classmate said, "It's not surprising for you, my grandma said that in their era, some women might follow someone's wishes for a morsel of food for their children." At that time, when they heard these examples, they took them as jokes, and then everyone expressed their opinions righteously, accusing some women who did not love themselves. But today, when she saw with her own eyes what kind of person Lee Ziru was, what kind of person Xiao Binky was, and what kind of person Xiao Yuan was, she really felt that some people were indeed self-sufficient and despicable and unworthy of sympathy, but some people are indeed unable to fight. Of course, these so-called difficulties are due to cowardice, and she doesn't agree with them doing that, but she feels that, as a bystander, she has no right to despise them. If you are not in danger, how can you know the state of mind of a person who is in danger? What's more, in the years before that, there was no reason to talk about it. Seeing that he was going to the inpatient area, Chu Xia said, "I'll accompany you to see senior brother Cheng." "Thank you." Li Ziru breathed a sigh of relief. Guo Result's head was still tightly wrapped, he was half lying on the bed in a daze. When he saw Chu Xia and Li Ziru coming in, he quickly sat up straight and smiled at them, stretching the wound on his head, involuntarily sucking in air. Li Ziru hurried forward to support him, and said angrily, "Your wound is not healed yet, don't move around." "It's okay." Kuakuo smiled embarrassedly at Chuxia. "Chuxia, are you okay?" "Didn't I just tell you yesterday that I'm fine?" Chu Xia teased him with a smile. "Hearing what you mean, it seems that you really hope that I'm fine, right?" No, I'm really afraid that something will happen to you, so I'll feel so guilty." Kuakuo said with a sigh. "I'll find Dabeo to settle the score later, he's just too stingy, the car brake is not good, and he doesn't care about it." Xiuxiu, this is almost a death lawsuit, alas. "Senior brother, I see that you are in good spirits, and you already know how to blame others." Chu Xia stepped forward to look at his face. "Why, I couldn't sleep last night thinking about Miss Ziru. The circles around my eyes are dark." Guo smiled wryly. "Junior sister, it's not good. I have a headache and can't lie down completely to sleep. Do you think I can rest well?" While speaking, Li Ziru had already set the breakfast, and said softly, "Let's eat." The result hesitated for a moment, and said, "Xiao, are you, don't come to deliver food at noon, my mother will deliver it to me." Li Ziru's face froze, and he nodded, "Okay, I see, what do you want to eat tonight? Don't come here at night, I'll go find you when I'm well, okay? I'll go and wash the towel for you." Li Ziru grabbed the towel beside the bed and ran out as if fleeing. She cried. The result sighed heavily, and looked at Chu Xia. "Do you think I've gone too far?" He. Chu Xia just laughed dryly. She didn't intend to inquire about other people's affairs, but she didn't intend to inquire about it, but she panicked in the end. Finally, she met someone who was clear about his and Li Ziru's affairs, so she just took care of herself. I started to talk. "My parents don't agree with me being with Xiao, are you? It's hard for me to be caught in the middle, so I hope to give my parents a buffer time. Originally, they were going to deliver meals this morning. I tried to persuade them, but they couldn't agree to come, but let me tell Ziru clear." "Is it because of Aunt Li?" Chu Xia sighed. "I met Miss Ziru just now, she told me that Aunt Li's condition is not good, I'm still wondering if it will affect the relationship between you. I didn't expect, really. I know, I can't blame Aunt Lee for this matter, and Uncle Lee is also a very good person. I really don't want to make them sad, but the circles my parents associate with are all familiar with them, and they can't stand the pressure. Actually, they were also quite uncomfortable, but... Guo smiled wryly, but they still couldn't take it anymore. If I hadn't been thinking about these messy and incomprehensible things in my heart, people wouldn't have pushed the car away without realizing it. Alas, Chusia, the more I think about it now, the more afraid I become. If I really hit you, I... Chusia interrupted him, don't think too much about it when it's over, I'm fine right now, that's the result of the incident, right? You're afraid of thinking about it all the time, is it meaningful? Brother Chang, although you and I don't have many contacts, but I feel that you are a happy and neat person. So, is your entanglement caused by Uncle Chang and Auntie Chang, or is it because you tell you in your heart that something is wrong? The result suddenly raised his head, and stared blankly at Chusia, junior sister, you mean, you can see it? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 474. After eating at noon, Chusia was sitting at the desk and squinting, when Li Xiru came, her eyes were a little red, obviously she had cried. After Wang Jing talked with her aunt Wang Lei yesterday, she no longer felt any resentment towards Chusia, but her face couldn't be wiped off for a while, and she was still a little awkward to get along with. At this time, Li Xiru's arrival gave her a chance to show her goodwill. She stood up and walked out, saying, Lin Chuxia, I'll go out for a while and come back before work. Apparently, what she meant was, you can talk about something, I won't come back halfway to interrupt. Chusia was slightly taken aback, and hurriedly said, thank you, senior sister. Wang Jing smiled and waved her hands, and left briskly. Sorry to bother you. Li Xiru looked at Chusia apologetically, I was too thoughtless, sorry. Miss Xiru, don't be so polite, sit down and talk. Chusia motioned her to sit down, and poured her another glass of water. Are you curious about what Brother Chang said to me in the morning? Guo was complaining to her in the morning at that time. Li Xiru came back, and then she left, so she asked this question. No, Li Xiru shook his head with a wry smile, I want to ask you something. I know I'm a bit abrupt, but after much deliberation, it seems that you are the only one I can ask. Chusia had a good impression of her, so she nodded cheerfully. You said, if I can help, I will do my best. Guanguo likes his little junior sister, but, out of responsibility, he has always chosen to be with me. If I don't bring it up, he will definitely marry me. Even if the married uncle and aunt strongly objected during this time, he would definitely take the pressure to marry me home, and I have known him since childhood. I know, he is such a person. But I can't be that selfish. He can't be forced to suppress himself for the rest of his life, I know. If I told him clearly, he would definitely deny my statement. So, I will leave City A with my parents in a few days, and we will not come back in the future. In this life, I will probably never see the results. He will definitely look for me, please give him this letter after I leave. Li Xiru took out a long folded letter from his pocket as he spoke. It was not sealed. Chusia took it, picked up the glue and glued it firmly, and smiled at her. I don't have the hobby of spying on others for personal gain. Thank you, I have troubled you too much, but I probably won't be able to make it in this lifetime. Li Xiru sighed heavily, and Li Xiru's expression was indescribably lonely. Hesitate. Chusia asked, did you hear our conversation this morning? No. Li Xiru shook his head, and looked at Chusia expectantly. Has he ever talked about his relationship with me? A little bit. He said that he was indifferent to you during this time. He hoped to persuade his parents to accept it first. He said that his parents are actually hesitant now, saying that they are against you, but they are concerned about your mother's affairs in their hearts. Very guilty. Chu Xiao recounted the first half to her. But he did not repeat the second half to her. Because when Guo Guo asked her if she saw something, she thought he was talking about a change in his attitude, but he told her. In fact, the person he really likes is Wu Jingbo. From the very beginning, he liked Wu Jingbo. But later, what happened to Li Xiru? The promise he made with them when they were young made him unable to refuse Li Xiru's approach. Later, things developed to a situation that he never thought of, which made him even more unable to let go, and he couldn't let go. However, he is in great pain. He looks at the person he likes walking up and down in front of him every day, but he has to pretend nothing has happened, and he has to be careful when helping the other party, for fear of being misunderstood. He said that he lived so hard that his brain was tense every day. In fact, as a doctor, such a state is very dangerous, and he himself knows it, but he has no ability to change everything. Just when he was talking about this, Li Xiru went back, and Chu Xia also left, but it could be seen that his complexion obviously improved a lot when he finally told the burden in his heart. Unexpectedly, there was a turn of events. In the morning, Kuo had just talked about his entanglement. At noon, Li Xiru came to ask Chu Xia to hand him the letter and let him go free. Rationally, Chu Xia felt that this was the best solution. But emotionally, she still sympathized with Li Xiru. This is a kind girl, her life experience is not something she can choose, and everything her mother suffered was not intentional by her mother, no wonder, but the fault is her own. Li Xiru is not stupid. She was silent for a while, then raised her head and smiled wryly. Did you hide something from me? Have you really thought it through? Chu Xia looked into her eyes seriously. You said that being able to marry Guo Guo was your wish since childhood, but now, you are one step away from your wish, so you gave up. You may never have such an opportunity again. Do you really not regret it? I've been thinking about it for a long time. Li Xiru sighed. If I hadn't been looking for a house and a place to take care of me, I would have left a long time ago. If we stayed here, my mother would have been in pain forever. Originally, she was lucky enough to think that no one would pursue what happened in the past, but now, this scar has been exposed vividly, revealing blood dripping, which made her unable to accept it at all. She couldn't sleep the whole night, and her hair fell out in handfuls. She used to look like 37 or 18 years old, but now she looks like 57 or 8-year-old. She is my biological mother. In this world, my father and I are the closest people to her. If we don't think about her, her life will really be over. My mother is very dependent on me now. If I stay, she and my father will leave, and she will always miss me. Moreover, as long as I marry Guo Guo, I will inevitably have to deal with my uncles and aunts. So, my mother's health may never get better. Without me, I can live a better life, but my mother may lose her life. There is only one answer to this multiple choice question, and I cannot choose the wrong one. Chu Xia patted her and didn't say anything else. This is a filial and kind girl. It can be seen that she loves her deeply. The choice now is for family affection. In fact, the most important thing is to return her love. The result is a free body. It's just that she doesn't want the results to be too burdensome, so she will pull out her family relationship as a cover. To be honest, Li Xinwan just can't stand other people's eyes, and it's not that she has a mental illness. How could she not be able to live without her? When I came here just now, the uncles and aunts of the Cheng family came over. They saw me as if they saw air. They liked me very much since they were young, but their current attitude made me very, very unbearable. Originally, I wanted to come back tomorrow. From this point of view, let's forget it. It will make myself sad and worry others. Why not? From today onwards, I will disappear from his life. I believe that in just 2 or 3 months, he will completely forget about me. Chusia, if it's convenient, I'll trouble you to say more good things about Guo Guo in front of Wu Jingbo. He is really a nice man, I can see that he really likes the result. Also, when I was with him, he said that I don't understand anything about medical skills. But when he was with Wu Jingbo, the other party could understand what he said, and he could also put forward different opinions. When the two of them were together, his whole body was full of light. I sincerely hope that he can get what he wants and be happy. Chusia, this is the last thing I ask you, so that I can leave with peace of mind. You're quite a worry. Chusia curled her lips. However, I can't agree to your last request. It's most inappropriate to get involved as an outsider in emotional matters. If Wu Jingbo has feelings for the results, I don't need to say, they will come together. If she doesn't feel it, I will only make her feel less. People have rebellious psychology, right? That's right. Li Xiru smiled shyly. Could you please tell Wu Jingbo that I am especially grateful for her help? If she hadn't come to you at the beginning, my mother would still be in prison now. Why didn't you tell her yourself? Chusia asked. I can't say it. Li Xiru bit her lip, tears welled up in her eyes. I'm forcing myself to let go, forcing myself to be magnanimous. When I'm in front of you, I can still control my emotions. In front of her, I'm afraid I'm going to cry. Chusia nodded, understood, okay, I will pass on your thanks to her. Thank you, then I won't bother you. Li Xiru stood up and bowed respectfully. You and your husband, as well as teacher Wu Jingbojing, are my benefactors of Li Xiru, and I will remember them all my life. Don't be so polite. Chusia put the letter in the drawer and locked it, got up to send her off. I'll accompany you out. Li Xiru quickly waved his hand. No need, you should squint for a while, it will delay your rest. At my age, it's okay to miss a nap. After Chusia sent her away, seeing that it was still a while before work, she went to Luo Xiaoxian's place for a walk. When she came back, she went to the laboratory to pick up Qin Mei's checklist. Qin Mei came over in the morning, and after Song Xiao checked her with bare hands, he wrote orders for her to do the inspection quickly, and some of the orders were picked up in the morning. At the door of the office, Qin Mei was standing there with a look of helplessness. When she saw Chusia, she greeted her as if seeing a savior. You are here, I. Seeing that she was nervous and didn't know what to say, Chusia shook the stack of sheets in her hand. The rest of the sheets are out, and Director Song will explain it to you in detail after he reads it. I won't die, right? Qin Mei asked timidly. I can't guarantee this. Chusia shook his head. Everyone will die one day, I really can't guarantee you this question. Qin Mei's heart went round and round like a roller coaster, and finally fell back to the original point. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 475. The second watch arrives. Everyone is playing on the first day of the Lunar New Year, and the warmth is in the code words. As Chusia had previously guessed, a tumor of 85 mm x 105 mm had grown in Qin Mei's abdomen. As for whether it was benign or malignant, it would not be known until it was removed. Song Xiao went through all the lists carefully, sighed slightly, and looked at Chusia. Call the patient in. Yes, Luo Yi responded, turned around, and before she could move, Wang Jing had already stood up with a smile. I'll call her, I'll be closer. A smile appeared on the corner of Song Xiao's lips. What she most wanted to see was to get along with her two little apprentices in harmony. Qin Mei came in a little nervously, and sitting opposite Song Xiao, there were beads of sweat on her forehead. Even if there was heating in the room, it wouldn't be so hot. Obviously, she was very nervous. Comrade Qin, your results have come out. There is an 85 mm*105 mm tumor in the abdominal cavity. Song Xiao said while comparing the size, and then continued, this must be operated on, and the sooner the better. As for the nature, we won't know until after the cut is made, but according to the speed at which your disease develops, the possibility of benignidy is higher. It might be malignant, right? Chin Mei had tears in her eyes. If it's malignant, how long can I live? I don't want to make such an assumption with you. Song Xiao shook her head at her. Comrade Chin, you have to be more optimistic. It will be good for your condition. Before the inspection, Chin Mei had said so. In the end, she wanted to know for herself, because her parents were not in good health. Therefore, she dared not let them know. That's why Song Xiao told the truth. It is normal for patients to behave like this. What's more, some of them fainted when they heard the results, so although Chin Mei was nervous, Song Xiao still praised her with a smile. Comrade Chin, you are the patient I saw medium. The psychological quality is particularly good, and with your mentality, you should also think about the good. Taking a deep breath, Chin Mei looked at Song Xiao. Dr. Song, how much do you take to comfort me? Basically not, Song Xiao said with a smile. You're overthinking. I'm a doctor, and my professional ethics is here, so it's impossible to talk nonsense about my illness. If you have to say that there are elements of comfort. So, the rhetoric about your psychological quality has a certain consolation, but an optimistic attitude. It is indeed conducive to the recovery of the disease. Thank you. Chin Mei looked at Song Xiao gratefully. When I went to see a doctor, most of the people I received were cold faces. You make me feel that patients still have dignity. Wang Jing said, the teacher has a good personality. He is very polite to everyone, the teacher said. The patient is already in a bad mood when he is sick. If she pulls her face seriously, the patient will be in a worse mood. It is not easy to recover from a bad mood, so no matter how bad the mood is, the teacher will not lose his temper when facing the patient. Chin Mei looked at Chu Xia reflexively, and Chu Xia nodded at her. That's right, what senior sister said is true. You can rest assured about the next treatment. You will never have any other problems besides the pain. Not happy. Chin Mei looked at Song Xiao gratefully. Director Song, thank you so much. By the way, I will tell my parents about my illness when I go back, and let them take care of me after the operation, but, I want to ask you one thing. If it is malignant after the test, don't tell them, just lie to them that it is benign, can you? Okay, Song Xiao agreed happily. After seeing off Chin Mei, Chu Xia returned to the office and looked at Song Xiao worriedly. Teacher, do you think she might be vicious? Chu Xia, we are doctors. We can't draw conclusions arbitrarily when the condition is not fully resolved. Whether it is from the image or the touch, it seems to be benign. However, we cannot rule out the possibility of accidents. So, in the end, is there a possibility of malignancy? My answer is yes. How likely is it? My answer is that I don't know. You may ask me again, why should I be so sure when facing patients? That's because, if I'm not sure, she will be afraid. This kind of disease, no matter benign or malignant, is most afraid of excessive psychological pressure. Therefore, I give her hope that no matter what the result is, it can delay the development of the disease. How could such a doctor be possible in future generations? In future generations, if there is no certainty, I will definitely not tell you the definite result, because I am afraid of being relied upon by my family members, and I am afraid of taking responsibility. There are not many doctors like Song Xiao who are dedicated to the sake of patients, or there are. She didn't know if it was because of Song Xiao's high personal awareness, or if doctors in this era were like this, but now she felt that it was really right to choose this profession. She hopes that one day, she can also become a great doctor that patients like and trust. The afternoon class is anatomy and suture. Faced with the cut bloody little mouse, many students ran out and vomited. Although some did not vomit, their hands were shaking so that it was difficult to suture normally. The chaotic scene made Professor Yuan's beard really stick out. But anger doesn't help in this matter. Some people's cowards will never become bold just because they are afraid of being scolded by the professor. I solemnly warn you, I will give you 3 chances in the anatomy class. If after 3 times, you still can't suture normally, please pack up and leave. You may not know my personality well. What I want is a student who is capable and talented and suitable for medical practice. Even if you are the chairman's son, if you don't have this talent, you will be kicked out. I have already said the ugly words before. When everyone goes back, find a pig head and practice more, so as not to think that I am cruel and merciless and destroy your future. Throwing away these words, Professor Tongza left the office angrily with his book in his arms. I'm really impatient. Am I going to finish sewing now? Chu Xia muttered in a low voice, looking at the little white mouse that had been sewed up by herself and curled up in the cage, with a tangled expression on her face. Was she doing the right thing or not? Because she is always absent from class, the former professor has some opinions on her, so when she checks to the middle position, she gets annoyed and leaves. So should she bring the mouse to the professor now? Chuxia Tongza suddenly discovered that her legs seemed to be faster than her brain. When she regained consciousness, she had already walked out of the classroom with the cage in her hand. Behind her was Luo Xiaoxian, who was chasing after her. She guessed that the other guys should be busy tossing his own little white mouse. He didn't notice her leaving, otherwise, he would definitely have chased her. I sewed it up, and I'll show it to the professor. If it's qualified or not, you have to tell me, don't you think so? Chu Xia raised the cage in front of Luo Xiaoxian and shook it. Hey, he's still alive. Everyone was given a living mouse, and the knife was also cut by himself, but there are probably not many alive now. What a waste of life, Mao Xia thought with emotion. Alive, Luo Xiaoxian took the cage, stared at the limp little thing with wide eyes, and smacked her lips for a moment. Mine died a long time ago. How did you do it? Skillful. What is dexterous? I am, Chu Xia said while showing her paws tremblingly to Luo Xiaoxian. The other party really cooperated, looked at her a few times, and nodded. So my fingers are short. I understand why my guinea pig died. Chu Xia. After Professor Yuan returned to his office, he just sat there and sulked. He actually knew that he was making things difficult for him, but he just couldn't help being anxious. After so many years of delay, he was really afraid that there would be some people who wouldn't answer. When the situation arises, you can wait for other things to wait, but you can't wait for the sick thing. When a patient comes, you can't say, sorry, our doctors haven't been fully trained yet, don't get sick first, go home and wait for our doctors to be trained before getting sick. Boom. Boom boom boom. When he came back to his senses, Professor Yuan yelled impatiently, what are you knocking? Come in and talk about something. Turning his head and seeing Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian, he was stunned, and asked, you don't study hard, what are you doing here? Professor Yuan, you are walking too fast, so I had no choice but to chase after you and let you take a look. Chu Xia said while handing over the little white mouse she had sewed up, I don't know if I am qualified to sew up in this way, I would like to invite the professor, let me identify it. Professor Yuan immediately sat up straight, took the cage, carefully looked at the little white mouse and stared at it for a while, then opened the door of the cage, carefully took it into his hand, turned over his stomach, carefully saw that the medicine had been applied, and slightly some swollen wounds. After a while, stood up a little excitedly, staring at Chu Xia, you sewed this up? Yes. Seeing his appearance, Chu Xia knew that he was qualified. Who taught you this stitch? Professor Yuan pointed at the stitches excitedly, who taught you to sew like this? I thought about it myself. Can she say that she used to attend a class on behalf of a classmate in the medical school, but in the end, when he happened to be attending a suture class, she was kicked out of the market? It's just that she sewed the little mouse to death that time, so she went back and beat up the classmate who asked her to substitute. Or maybe it was the knot in her heart that made her choose a doctor without even thinking about it when she was choosing a career. Today, she is using an acupuncture method commonly used by later generations. The wounds sutured in this way are not only beautiful, but also not easy to be infected and oxidized. I drew a scoop according to the impression of the gourd, but I didn't expect it to be true. She deliberately showed her results to Professor Yun, firstly, to prove that she was doing it right, and secondly, to hope that this set of acupuncture methods would come out sooner and benefit patients earlier. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 476. One more. Why did you come up with such a stitch? After studying for a long time, Professor Yun put the mouse back into the cage and continued to ask Chu Xia. When you were in class, the professor said that the suture technique is mainly external suture and intradermal suture. The external suture is relatively simple and can be performed by almost every doctor. The intradermal suture has extremely high requirements for eyesight and dexterity. Many doctors can't really master it skillfully, so when suturing, most of the time they can only choose extracutaneous suture. I felt that as a patient, the illness was already very painful, and if there was another ugly big scar, I would definitely feel uncomfortable seeing it. However, the technical requirements for intradermal suture are there, and it is impossible for every doctor to be able to do it skillfully. Then, if it is possible to intermittently combine external suture and intradermal suture, I believe many doctors can do it. Although the resulting scar is not as perfect as the intradermal suture, it will not leave as obvious a scar as the original one. Anyway, it can also reduce the pain of some patients. Chu Xia had thought of this set of rhetoric a long time ago, and the person who invented this set of acupuncture really thought so. The only difficulty with this set of needling is the connection when turning outside to inside and turning outside, but it is more difficult than skin. The inner suturing is much smaller. I believe that as long as they work hard, every doctor can master it proficiently. What a caring child, Professor Yun said happily. Actually, as long as many doctors are willing to use their brains, many doctors should be able to figure out your suturing method. For the sake of the patient. My child, I can teach you. I am very happy. Chu Xia smiled and said, "Thank you, Professor, for your compliment. Don't ignore me in the future. I will be very happy." You child, he. Professor Yun smiled embarrassedly. "Okay, I apologize to you, I'm too superficial." Hey. It was Chu Xia's turn to be embarrassed for Professor Yun's quick apology. He stretched out his hands and scratched his head, and looked at the other party with big eyes full of apology. "Professor, I'm sorry. I will try my best to avoid missing classes in the future and study hard." Professor Yun is a stubborn and childish old boy. Hearing Chu Xia say this, he was a little unhappy. "Why don't you say that you will never miss classes in the future? You should cherish such a good talent. 2 days of fishing and drying the nets will not accomplish anything." Chu Xia smiled wryly and didn't know what to say. She was already married. With the background of the Zhou family, it is inevitable that there will be some activities with the mother-in-law and the old mother-in-law. As for the family, the father's life experience is known. It is also unavoidable that she must accompany her parents to participate in some entertainments. For her, work is important, however. The most important thing is her family. She works hard. Isn't it just to make the family, or say, to make parents live a happier life? No matter how deep the in-laws' background is. No matter how deep the background of the Lin family in the capital is, the parents will not be truly down to earth. Only when she has complete self-reliance can they be truly down to earth. Whoever has it doesn't know that she has it, and whoever is strong is not as strong as herself. She thinks the sentence is very correct, so, one day, she will become a good daughter and wife who is self-reliant, and loves her family. When Chusia didn't speak, Professor Yuan became even angrier. Is it because your family doesn't support you? That's fine, you go back, leave this matter to me, and I will do their work. No, no, no. No, Chusia hurriedly refused. Professor, my family members are very supportive of me, don't worry, if it's not a last resort, I will definitely not miss class. What kind of marriage did you get married at such a young age? It's time to start your career, alas. Professor Yuan sighed heavily, and waved at her with eyes full of pity. Okay, you go back, later notice. Yes, Chusia replied, and quickly pulled Luo Zioxian out of the way. On the way, Luo Zioxian kept looking at her, and Chusia punched her. What are you looking at? It's not the first time I've seen her. I'd better leave this look to my brother. When did you think about it? Luo Zioxian asked. Chuxia, why do I feel that I am getting farther and farther away from you? Even if the women's university has changed, it can't be so scary, right? Chuxia joked with a smile. Do you think I can become a Superman by wearing underwear outside? Ah, Luo Zioxian stared at her blankly. Why do you have to wear underwear outside? Isn't that embarrassing? A certain person has black lines. Well, she just said the sentence in a smooth way, forgetting that in this day and age, I don't even know what a Superman wearing underwear is, so I laughed and laughed. I'm not using a metaphor, what do you mean? That is, I became more and more conspicuous, just as conspicuous as a person wearing a pair of underwear outside. Is there anyone who compares himself like this? Luo Zioxian rolled his eyes. It's better not to be conspicuous. Chuxia curled her lips, stopped answering the other party's words, and was not on the same frequency band, so she really couldn't communicate. When I got home at night, Chuxia told Zhou's family the results of Qin Mei's examination. The old lady and Lin Yangqiu sighed, thinking that Qin Mei was also poor, and the little complaints they had made towards her disappeared. When Zhou Shanping came back and heard the result, he was silent for a long time without speaking. In the end, the old man gave the order. No matter what, Qin Mei is his soldier. When encountering such a thing, he must do his best to be the leader. So, that night, Zhou Mikang and Chuxia accompanied Zhou Shanping to Qin Mei's house. After Qin Mei returned home, she told her parents about her illness. The two were honest people with little education. When Qin Mei said that she had a tumor in her stomach and was about to cut it out, she immediately panicked. Qin's mother kept wiping away her tears, complaining that God had no eyes, bullied their family, and blamed her husband for being incapable, which made her daughter unmarried at this age, and now that she is sick, there is no man to love her. Qin's father listened to Qin's mother's complaints, and had nothing else to do except sigh. Qin Mei was very annoyed in her heart. She told them that she just hoped that she would have someone to take care of her after the operation, not to make them make noise like the sky was falling. Mom, can you stop crying? Dad, can you stop sighing? Unable to bear it any longer, Qin Mei broke out, what I have now is not terminally ill, but I just need to cut out the stuff in my stomach. How to live, if you really love me, you can say hello to the factory in advance, and ask for leave to take care of me when the time comes. Besides, you don't have to worry about it. When the two honest people heard this, they stood up and slapped their foreheads, and ran away in a hurry. When they came back, they told her that they had already made an agreement with the leader, and when they wanted to ask for leave, they could just say it. After a while, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents all came. Obviously, Qin's father and Qin's mother should have informed. Scanning around, Qin Mei's head is getting bigger. The problem is, come as you please. After entering the door, they take turns holding her hand and crying about her life. Do you think she is going to die? When they left, a large group of people left her a total of 2 yuan and 10 cents, they said it was everyone's wishes, and it was used for her treatment. Not to mention her cold heart, even Chin's father and Chin's mother couldn't accept it, and they moaned about the injustice of their relatives relative to each other. Chin Mei, who was in a bad mood, immediately broke out, "Dad, Mom, how can we treat others in the future? Don't worry about yourself, okay?" "Sister, what's the matter?" Qin Sheng, who came back from get off work, looked at the explosive elder sister with a speechless expression on his face. "Whoever provoked you, you settle accounts with whom. What's the point of trying to show your authority to your parents?" For this elder sister, who is in her 30s and has not yet married, Qin Sheng is not usually bored, so naturally she is not polite when speaking. "Qin Sheng, do you just hope that I will die of illness and leave this house quickly?" Qin Mei stared straight at him. "Do you always curse me like this in your heart?" "Sister, you are really sick," Qin Sheng glared at her. "It's unreasonable. No wonder no man is willing to marry you. With your bad temper, anyone who wants to marry you has something wrong in his head." "Xiao Shen," Father Qin glared at his son, "why are you talking to your sister? I don't blame your sister for today's incident. Your sister is really sick. Your mother and I were worried, so we notified our relatives, and it turned out." After listening to his father's explanation of the cause and effect, Qin Sheng looked Qin Mei up and down. "Sister, do you really have a tumor in your stomach?" Qin Mei gave him a blank look. "Nonsense, who wants to talk nonsense about such things?" "Dad, Mom, I treated her, what should I do when I get married?" Qin Sheng looked at his parents. "Xiao Feng said that if the dowry money is not enough, she will not marry." "Xiao Sheng, you can't delay saving lives for a whole day. You can wait until you get a wife." Mother Qin sighed. "She is your own sister, how can you talk like that? I wish she wasn't my own sister. Otherwise, Xiao Feng can divorce me. Let me marry her again." Qin Sheng sneered. "Anyway, I've said my ugly words before, if you don't pay the gift money, I'll go back to Wang's house." "You are so looking forward to being the son-in-law who cuts through the door? You can't live without Wang Feng? She is such a lazy, greedy, and ugly woman. If you marry once, it doesn't count. You have to marry again. I see your brain is flooded." Qin Mei had long been used to her younger brother's attitude towards her. She scolded the other party a lot, and before waiting for the other party's reply, she went back to her room and closed the door with a bang. However, with the attitude she was used to, when she was sick, she still felt aggrieved. She didn't want to cry, but the tears fell uncontrollably. Her younger brother's yelling and cursing outside the door became a tear gas. I don't know how long it took, but she heard her mother calling her outside. "Xiao Mei, there's a guest here, I'm looking for you, come out quickly." First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 477. The second watch arrives. "Are there any guests? Still looking for her?" Qin Mei lay on the bed thinking hard. Who would come to her at this time? Cried, it was too ugly, she didn't want outsiders to see it. Boom. 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 "Xiao Mei, are you sleeping? Get up quickly, there is a guest, it is your leader, come out quickly." Qin Mei couldn't help shaking. "Zhou Shanping is here? No matter how ugly you look, the other party will see it, so what if your eyes are swollen from crying? Moreover, the other party knew about her illness. It would be abnormal if she was happy now." Thinking of this, she quickly got up, trimmed her hair, tugged at the corner of her clothes, and opened the door. As expected, Zhou Shanping stood outside. She is no stranger to the other two. There are too many connections between the two. Speaking of which, she should be most grateful to these two people. Without waiting for her to speak, Zhou Shanping nodded at her. "Xiao Qin, have you already told your parents about your illness? Say it. Chin Mei nodded, looked at Chuxia and Zhou Mikang, and said gratefully, Comrade Lin, Comrade Zhou, there are too many things to trouble you, please sit down. Only then did Chin's father and Chin's mother realize that they were so excited that they forgot the etiquette of hospitality, so they hurriedly moved a chair over for a few people to sit on. Chin's mother smiled embarrassedly, there are no chairs at home. Don't crowd around here to take up space. Chin's father frowned and pushed his son, who was sitting there calmly, he's such a big man, he doesn't have any vision at all. Dad, I'll just take up the big butt. Qin Sheng said, looking at Zhou Shanping, leader, you don't think I'm in the way, do you? Without waiting for Zhou Shanping to speak, Qin Mei frowned and looked at her younger brother, Qin Sheng, it's none of your business here, go back to your room and stay. If it wasn't for helping you, do I need to stay here? Qin Sheng glared at her, don't think I didn't remind you, you don't want to touch a cent of Xiaofeng's gift money. Bastard, Qin's father wanted to save face. He felt that his son was so messed up in front of the guests. He felt that his old face was completely humiliated, so he picked up a big broom at hand and greeted his son. Qin Sheng stood there without moving, if you hit me once, I will leave this house immediately and take care of myself. Don't point at me. The broom, which was about to fall on the shoulders, stopped there in an instant. Qin's father turned to Sai with a look of despair, and the broom fell heavily on the ground. You don't even dare. Qin Sheng muttered, and went back to the room and closed the door with a bang. Qin's father smoothed things over with a dry smile, Leader Zhou, I'm sorry, my son has such a bad temper, but he's actually quite good-natured. Dad, don't put gold on his face. If he is really good-hearted, he shouldn't be making such a fuss today. Qin Mei sighed and looked at Zhou Shanping, Director, I wronged you so much. You still come to see me, sorry. Zhou Shanping smiled and waved his hands, it's okay, it's all over. I came here today just to talk to you and treat your illness with peace of mind. I'll arrange for the nurses. You don't have to worry too much about work, when will you take care of your body? When will you go back to work again? The unit will reimburse 70% of the treatment costs, and you only need to bear 30%. If you still have any difficulties, tell me now, and I will definitely help you solve them. After hesitating for a while, Qin Mei said, Director, I would like to ask the unit to give me a dormitory, is that okay? Okay. After a little hesitation, Zhou Shanping agreed. He had already seen Qin Sheng's attitude, and the room Qin Mei came out of just now was obviously remodeled with a balcony. It is not too much to give her a dormitory under such conditions. Thank you, Director. Qin Mei bowed to him gratefully, don't worry, Director, I will never pester you again, in fact, I look down on myself for doing that in front of my colleagues every day. Don't worry, when I recover from illness, the first thing I do when I return to work is to tell the truth, so as not to let everyone misunderstand my relationship with you. Zhou Shanping smiled and waved his hands, I said, it's all in the past, don't mention it. By the way, I also want to ask you, do you want to stay in the unit to work after you recover or change places? Can I be transferred to another place? Qin Mei's eyes lit up, it would be great if I could be transferred, but don't worry, even if I want to transfer, I will definitely clear your name first. After listening to this for a long time, Qin's father and Qin's mother basically understood what kind of bad things their daughter did to the leader when she left the house in order to get married. Now, the couple are even more grateful to Zhou Shanping. It was my daughter who did something wrong. At this time, people can still come to help solve the problem. In the end, the family sent Zhou Shanping and others out of the house with gratitude, accompanied by Chu Xia and Zhou Mikang, which was basically the effect of the background board. On the way back, Zhou Shanping was very embarrassed and said apologetically, it's late at night, and you are still dragging you around with me. As an elder, I really don't have to worry about it, right. Chu Xia smiled and said, "Third uncle, if you let us follow, you trust us and get close to us. You are free at night, so you just come out to have a look at the scene. How good is it?" The corners of Zhou Mikang's mouth twitched imperceptibly. "It's a cold day, and the outside is bare. I don't know what kind of scene someone is looking at." Zhou Shanping also laughed. "Chu Xia, did you forget to make a draft? Third uncle can tell that you are deliberately comforting others." Chu Xia innocently blinked his big eyes. "I didn't mean to comfort my third uncle. Don't you think the moon is bright and the stars are sparse, and we are the only car driving on the road? It feels very artistic and beautiful." "Beautiful." Zhou Shanping stuck his head out of the car window, glanced out, then retracted his head with a puzzled expression. "It seems that I am really old, and I can see the depression." Zhou Mikang couldn't help laughing. "Uncle San, you're not in the right mood right now. I'm with you in early summer. When Uncle San finds his beloved other half, he will feel beautiful." Chu Xia was speechless. This man never forgets to praise himself. Qin Mei was admitted to the hospital the next day. She needed a day of preoperative care. The next day, the surgeon was Song Xiao. Korea. After designing the operation plan, Song Xiao looked at Chuxia. "Professor Yuan said, you figured out the new suture method for the inner and outer sutures yourself." Chu Xia nodded embarrassingly. "Yes, the teacher also thinks it is good." I muttered to myself, "The sooner it is popularized, the sooner it will benefit the patients. This is a good deed, and no one can blame us. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 479. When Professor Yuan told Song Xiao Chuxia that she had created a set of acupuncture methods, she felt uncomfortable. She was obviously a student under her own supervision, but she had to make a detour. She would be surprised if she was happy. But now, Chu Xia's modest attitude made her very satisfied, and the discomfort in her heart disappeared, so she smiled and nodded at Chu Xia. "Yes, I also think it's very good, Chu Xia, you are a student I have taught among them, the most talented one. Keep working hard, one day, you will surpass me, and also, follow this operation." Chu Xia's eyes widened in surprise. "Teacher, you mean I can go to the operating table with you?" Song Xiao smiled and nodded. "Yes, you will go to the operating table with me and be my assistant. Although you have not studied medicine for a long time, you have mastered the basic skills well. I believe that you will be a qualified assistant." "Thank you, teacher." Chu Xia's excited little face flushed. She was really excited. For a medical student, being on the operating table is a big step forward. She had inquired before that the hospital stipulated that students had to study for more than half a year before they could be brought to the operating table. She really made an exception. At this moment, she really felt that she had made the right move. Because she has practiced the piano before, her hands are more dexterous than others. Therefore, in terms of hands-on ability, no one among the students can match her. However, what she is learning now is some simple exercises. Nobody noticed her. Wang Jing hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward and patted her on the shoulder. "Chu Xia, congratulations, I have been with the teacher for 8 months before I have the opportunity to stand on the operating table as an assistant. Moreover, I am a third assistant help. It's a real help with 1 help and 2 help, she is in charge of watching." "Teacher, who am I?" After being reminded by Wang Jing, Chu Xia only remembered to ask this question. Song Xiao had a funny face on her face. "You are confused. It would be nice to let you go to the operating table, but you are still thinking about whether you can help." Chu Xia's head shook like a wave drum. No, teacher, I still have self-knowledge. Even if you really ask me to help, I don't have the guts. I just want to confirm my own position. Anyway, no matter where I am, I'm happy. It's about the same. Song Xiao pulled Tiaochu and took out a folder and handed it to her. It's the first time I'm on the operating table, of course it's a third aid, so I'll take a look at the precautions, and don't make trouble for me then. Yes. Chu Xiao respectfully took the folder from Song Xiao, opened it and carefully studied it from the beginning. In fact, it was a detailed marking of the specific instruments and the location of the operating table. With graphics, it is to avoid the hassle of Sansuk going into battle temporarily. Of course, no one wants to go into battle temporarily. But the sky is still unpredictable. Ask Wang Jing if you don't understand, Song Xiao said while looking at Wang Jing. Can you tell everything? Yes, Wang Jing nodded. I already know I was wrong. Teacher, don't always look at people with old eyes. Song Xiao gave her a white look. If you really know that you are wrong, you shouldn't feel wronged. Look at you, it seems that I have wronged you. Wang Jing rubbed her head in embarrassment. Teacher, it takes time to correct mistakes. You need to give me a process of adaptation. You have really high demands on yourself. Song Xiao shook her head helplessly. Chu Xia is several years younger than you should learn more from her. Right and wrong, Chu Xia is the one that can let you know right and wrong. By the way, do you feel sore when I say this now? A little bit. Wang Jing didn't lie. I know Chu Xia has a better personality than me, but I'm not all flawed. I've been with the teacher for so many years, the teacher should know. It seems that you need to get used to it slowly. Song Xiao sighed, lowered her head and continued to study her own surgical design, hoping that there would be no mistakes. Wang Jing, who was left hanging there, coughed in embarrassment, and moved to Chu Xia's side. Is there anything you don't understand? No. Chu Xia turned her head and smiled at her. Senior sister, you are busy with your work. I don't understand something, so I won't be polite to you. Okay, if you don't understand, please remember to ask me, Wang Jing said as she retreated to her seat, took out a book and flipped through it absent-mindedly. Boom. After a light knock on the door, Huang Li, who took care of Qin Mei, appeared at the door, looking at Chu Xia anxiously. Dr. Lin, Qin Mei's younger siblings are here, and they insisted on letting me go, saying that she stayed to take care of Qin Mei. Joe the director said, let me call you if I need anything. What do you think about this? Call me Assistant Lin. Let's go. I'll go over with you now. This is the name Chu Xia just came up with for herself. She is just an intern, and she is still in the learning stage. She is called Dr. Lin. Always feeling guilty, Song Xiao's newly named Sanzu reminded her of the name Assistant Lin. Song Xiao, who was looking at the design plan, heard the new title that Chu Xia had defined for herself, and the corners of her lips twitched slightly. She likes modest children, and now, she likes this little apprentice more and more. Wang Jing, follow and have a look, Song Xiao ordered. Yes, teacher, Wang Jing responded and hurriedly chased him out. Chu Xia followed Huang Li to Qin Mei's ward in a hurry, and saw a woman in her 30s sitting on Qin Mei's bedside, smiling and talking to Qin Mei. Qin Mei drooped her head, unable to see clear face. Sister Qin. Chu Xia looked at Qin Mei. Sister Huang said that you are going to change the bed companion, is that right? No, no. Seeing Chu Xia, Qin Mei regained her energy immediately, just like seeing a savior. I have no intention of letting Sister Huang go back, and I don't want to bother my siblings, but she insists on taking care of me. Outsiders are better. If I let her go, she won't go. I really have no choice. What's your surname? Chu Xia looked at Qin Mei's younger siblings. My surname is Wang, and my name is Wang Feng. Qin Mei's siblings stood up and looked at Chu Xia with a smile. You are Director Zhou's nephew and daughter-in-law, aren't you? My sister's matter is really troublesome to you. Zhou the director is really a responsible and good leader. My sister can work under him. It is really a blessing from the previous life. He. You want to be Sister Qin's escort? Chu Xia watched her size up. Don't get me wrong, as an assistant, I have no right to decide who the patient's bed companion is. It's just that my third uncle told me to pay attention to this matter, so I have to do my duty. Please forgive me, Sister Wang. I also have a job, and I'm quite busy, but who told me that this is my own sister? How can I do without my family at a time like this? Wang Feng said, looking at Huang Li's sister. I'm really sorry to trouble you. You also have your own job and your own family. If you always stay outside day and night, it must make your family unhappy. Don't worry, I will take good care of you, my sisters. You know the common sense of postoperative care, right? Chu Xia handed Wang Feng the piece of paper that she held in her hand when she came out, on which were written precautions for postoperative care. As expected. The more Wang Feng looked at it, the more her face became more twitching. After a moment of hesitation, she looked at Chu Xia. If you don't sleep for 72 hours, how can you take care of the patients? Look, can I and Sister Huang take turns? Originally, Zhou Shanping was going to send another person over after the operation. When Wang Feng brought it up, Chu Xia looked at Qin Mei. What's your opinion? Qin Mei sighed. Looking at Wang Feng, do you really want to take care of me, or did you listen to what Qin Sheng said? Misunderstood. Wang Feng looked aggrieved. Sister, look at what you said. Didn't I just say that? Anyway, we are a family. Qin Sheng is not convenient to take care of, sister. I should take care of this matter. After thinking for a while, Qin Mei shook her head. Forget it, you still have to go to work, so I won't bother you. Sister, I've already asked for leave, Wang Feng said. Qin Mei thought for a while, then looked at Chu Xia. Let the two of them take shifts. Okay, Chu Xia nodded. I'll tell third uncle later that he doesn't need to send someone over. Huang Li, who stood aside, looked embarrassed. She didn't know that Director Zhou had sent someone to take shifts with her after the operation. Therefore, when she heard that Wang Feng wanted her to leave, she panicked and asked for help. Sister Qin, arrange duty for them yourself, Chu Xia said, looking at Huang Li. Tell Wang Feng about the precautions Director Song told you in detail. Wang Feng, you must understand everything. Wang Feng nodded quickly. Don't worry, I know the importance of this matter, and I will definitely keep it in mind. Chu Xia, I can't tell, you have a lot of aura. After Chu Xia went out, Wang Jing, who had been standing outside the door, looked at her. I didn't realize it before, but you actually have a leadership style. Senior sister, do you have some meaning in what you said? Chu Xia turned to look at her, and smiled narrowly. Why do I smell vinegar? Hee hee. Wang Jing just laughed. I would definitely be jealous before, but now, I won't. If you climb on top of me and lead me, it means that I need to work harder. I understand the truth. Senior sister, have you really figured it out? Chu Xia looked at her amusedly. Is it insincere or sincere? Look, you are underestimating people, Wang Jing said with a sigh. I can't say that I have completely figured it out, but at the very least, my thinking is a little different from before. In the past, I always felt that all the people who treat me well have a purpose, just like my sister-in-law treats me well. I think she wants me to support her in retirement, and the teacher treats me well. I feel that she owes me. Sister-in-law's affection must be good to me. Of course, I didn't show all this on the surface, and the teacher didn't tell my sister-in-law about my performance in the hospital. Besides, those who left before did have some flaws in character, and the teacher didn't expect much from them. I happen to act as a touchstone. You are different from them. Whether it is medical talent or other aspects, Teacher Song attaches great importance to it, so she stopped bearing me and told my sister-in-law about it. After talking to my sister-in-law, I found out that she adopted me because she pitied me. For me, she gave up the chance of getting married. She also said that if I doubt her, she can write me a letter of guarantee, and I don't need to give me a letter of guarantee in the future. She is old age. As for the teacher, I also know that she tolerated me because she really pitied my life experience, not because she really owed my sister-in-law. She kept telling me that she owed my sister-in-law to be good to me, but I just don't want me to feel indebted to her. And you, Lin Chuxia, I was kind to you originally, but I hoped that you would connect me with Director Zheng. When my hopes were shattered, I couldn't resent others, so I took all my anger on you. I know that no matter how powerful the regiment leader is, it is impossible to interfere with me, so I did so many annoying things. Fortunately, my sister-in-law woke me up in time. Don't worry, I will do my best in the future efforts to control their emotions. Just like now, occasionally I will still be jealous of you, thinking that the teacher is too kind to you, thinking that you are so lucky, and thinking that God treats you too favorably. But if you think about it, if you don't have the ability, luck alone is useless. I've been with my teacher for so many years, but I haven't made any outstanding moves, and you, who have only studied medicine for such a short time, have figured out a way. Really effective acupuncture method, Lin Chuxia, I really admire you. Chu Xia sized her up and saw that her expression did not seem to be fake, so she laughed. Senior sister, are you showing your favor to me? Yes, Wang Jing smiled. Although I'm still not convinced by you, I must force myself to make changes. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 480. Updated today. That's right, if you become very sensible all of a sudden, I really won't be used to it. Chu Xiaoxiao pulled Wang Jing back. Senior sister, only if we hug each other can the teacher not be hurt by others. Look at the joke, I also have a lot of shortcomings. In the future, we will correct them together. Okay, let's change it together. After saying it casually, Wang Jing was a little embarrassed. Actually, you have no shortcomings, otherwise, you would definitely not want to talk to me now. You can't say that. Look, when you treat me badly, my temper will immediately become smelly and hard. In fact, whether it's with colleagues, friends, or relatives, this is also a big taboo. Originally things that can be laughed off, may become big troubles. If it weren't for your sister-in-law's persuasion, the relationship between the two of us would definitely get worse. In that case, the only ones who will be hurt in the end will be ourselves, the teacher, and outsiders, except for watching jokes, right? Yes, I can figure it out now, but at that time, I felt comfortable only by suppressing you in my heart. There would be a kind of pleasure of what if you marry a high-ranking official, why don't you still be bullied? Now think about it, is really too childish. After a pause, Wang Jing lowered her voice. Let me tell you a secret, that Wang Feng in the war just now is actually my cousin. If I see her from this point of view, I will definitely get angry and criticize her a few words, to trip her up, but today, I was able to control my mood swings and gradually calm myself down. This is really not easy for me. I admire myself. She always bullied you before, Chu Xia asked. Wang Jing curled her lips. Didn't I be taken by my grandparents for a while? She always scolded me. She said I was a burden and a broom star. The delicious food my grandma gave me was always snatched away by her. At that time, I inferiority, dare not fight back. Later, after being with my aunt, I gradually lost my inferiority complex. I basically quarreled with her every time I saw her, anyway, as long as it could make her lose face. I feel very happy. Just like her behavior today, I can tell at a glance that she doesn't really want to serve her eldest sister at all. She must think that your eldest sister has a good relationship with your husband's family, and wants to get some credit. Otherwise, with her temperament, let alone come to accompany the bed, even if she had to deliver a meal as a last resort, she would be able to catch the master who threw the sand in on the road. Of course I can see what she's thinking. To tell you the truth, the leader of her eldest sister is my husband's third uncle. The day before yesterday we accompanied my third uncle to Chin's house. Her husband was there at the time, and it was horrific at first. Later, flattering to death, the so-called chameleon. That being the case, now I understand. It's really someone looking for someone. Hey, Wang Jing sighed heavily. After falling out with them, I never went there again. As for who she married, I don't know too well. My sister-in-law mentioned it to me, but I didn't have a good impression of her, so I didn't listen to it at all. However, you said that someone with a temperament like hers, and then find a man with the same temperament, how do the two get along? I really can't imagine it. Chu Xia laughed and said, that's why I got divorced. Now, I'm trying to get married again, but according to her husband's wishes, I wish I could go to her house instead. Go to her house instead, Wang Jing laughed dumbfounded. It seems that the man has a brain problem. As for her mother, my uncle, she is definitely not a master that ordinary people can serve. My uncle used to be quite a normal person, but he was tortured by my uncle and was a little distracted. If he broke in the door and Wang Feng and my uncle attacked together, it probably wasn't a problem of insanity. It's hard to say whether his life can be saved. Chu Xia smiled and shook his head. It's not that the family doesn't enter the same family. It seems that your uncle entered the wrong door. If Qin Sheng really married, maybe the three of them will be able to get along very well. That's right, Wang Feng sighed quietly. Actually, when I was young and lived at my grandparents' house, my uncle was very kind to me. At that time, his mental state was good and bad. When he was good, he secretly give me good things to eat, and when things are bad, I don't know anyone, so naturally I can't take care of me. I don't know what's going on now, but when I think about it, I'm also quite unfilial. My dad treats me badly, but my uncle treats me well, and I don't give him anything in return. White-eyed wolf. Chu Xia patted her and didn't say much. In this day and age, if the conditions of the man's family are not particularly good, it is very difficult to marry a daughter-in-law, and even the daughter-in-law who is married has to be worshipped carefully, for fear that the other party will run away. Many people's understanding of marriage is that it is right for a woman to marry into a man's family and bear children for him, and it is also right for a man to earn money to support the family so that women and children can live better. If you can't do it, please shut up. 30 years later, some people still think this way, but there are also a large number of people who think that marriage is the ultimate direction of love, and having children is a part of family formation. To put it bluntly, although the child takes the father's surname, he calls your mother, who is closest to you, brings you too much joy in life, and even says that this is your spiritual sustenance, why take this as doing something for someone else? Of course, no matter what era, most marriages still have a certain purpose, just like her and Zhou Mikang, didn't they also at first? Up to now, it cannot be said to be a completely pure marriage. When the two returned to the office, Song Xiao was not there, and a note was left on the desk, saying that she had gone to the dean's office, and if there was anything, they could go to the dean's office to find her. Wang Jing picked up a piece of paper on the table, glanced at it, and shouted in surprise, "In early summer, the experts from the Beijing hospital will come to our hospital for a period of time, and the assistant will be recruited from our hospital. We are also on the candidate list." Inside, Chu Xia took it over and looked at it, and said with a smile, "Senior sister can fight for this matter, but for me, there is no need for it. A rookie who has only been here for 3 months is too presumptuous to fight for this position. I'm not going either. I've been with Mr. Song for so many years, and I'm not interested in any expert," Wang Jing said as she put the notice back on the table. "Chu Xia, do you think I should go see my uncle?" Chu Xia spread his hands. "If I say yes, you will say that you don't want to see your uncle, and if I say no, you will say that your uncle treats you well. It is not filial if you don't look at him, so my opinion is not important. The important thing is whether you want to see your uncle from the bottom of your heart. Even if you meet your father and your stepmother, it doesn't matter. Hey, Wang Jing sighed heavily, leaning on the back of the chair. If I could, I would never want to see that woman. When my grandparents sent me back, that woman's son kept bullying me. Anyway, no matter who, it's all my fault. Even if her son hits me on the head with a brick, I have to bear it. As long as I block it, I'm bullying my brother and I will be beaten. I don't want to see such a woman in my life. What she did was a bit too much. Chu Xia sighed and said, however, stepmothers are kind to stepchildren and stepchildren are rare. You have to be more open. If it were you, would you really have no grievances, treat your ex's children? What if it was you? Wang Jing asked. I don't know. Chu Xia thought for a while, and then said, I guess I will treat her, him, well, but I dare not do it casually. My own children don't hold grudges when they beat or scold them. Other people's children said something wrong. They can all be remembered forever. That's right, if it were me, I wouldn't want to raise children for others. Thinking about it this way, I don't seem to hate her that much, but I definitely still hate her. Forget it, when I really figure it out, I will go look at my uncle. I haven't been there for so many years, and he is doing well. Don't make some things up because I went. Moreover, I have to consult my sister-in-law before deciding whether to go to see him. When my sister-in-law adopted me, she had a bad fight with my stepmother. In recent years, she has not had much contact with my father. If I ran back now, it would be bad if I misunderstood my sister-in-law. She didn't get along well with that family. If I had only one choice, my choice would be my sister-in-law. In this life, as long as I have something, I must give it to my sister-in-law. Whether she gets married or not in the future, I will be filial to her and take care of her for the elderly. What are you laughing at? You don't believe me? No, no, Chu Xia repeatedly waved his hands. You misunderstood. I laughed at you and said, as long as you have something, you must give it to my sister-in-law. If you are married, what should I say? Damn, you grab me, I'm talking about material things, not people. Hey, you haven't seen my sister-in-law, she looks so beautiful. I was so stupid before, I thought she was real. How can such a beautiful and good-natured person not be able to marry? I am really stupid, Wang Jing said with a look of annoyance. Don't always regret the past, it's not too late to grasp the present. Wang Jing nodded vigorously. Yes, that's the reason. I'll cook when I get home tonight, so that my aunt can also taste what it's like to be served. Chu Xia laughed. It should taste good to be served. The key is that you have to make the dishes taste good too, lest your sister-in-law turn enjoyment into pain. You underestimate me. Am I that stupid? Wang Jing shrank her neck weakly while talking. Of course, the dishes I cook are not delicious, but I will try my best. Boom boom boom. Chu Xia looked over and saw Zhou Mikang standing at the door, knocking on the door lightly with her finger. She hurried over to greet her. Why did you come here so early? What's the matter? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 481. Updated today. Of course I have something to do. Come out. Zhou Mikang turned around and left after speaking. Chu Xia looked at Wang Jing for help. Senior sister. Wang Jing quickly waved her hand at Chu Xia. Go, go, I'm watching here. Thank you, senior sister. Chu Xia thanked her and quickly chased her out. The two of them had already made an appointment, and Zhou Mikang would park the car at a fixed location every time he came. When Chu Xia walked over, the other party was leisurely leaning against the car, looking at her leisurely. Why are you in such a hurry to find me? Chu Xia asked. Zhou Mikang raised his eyebrows and looked at her. Why, listen to what you mean. I can't find you if I have nothing to do. Chu Xia nodded seriously, of course, I'm at work. Zhou Mikang glared at her, you don't even think about me coming back for a few days. Chu Xia pouted, that's not a reason. Zhou Mikang folded his arms, what is the reason? There's no reason. Chu Xia quickly shook his head, you have to be more serious about your work. It's what you said. How dare you say that only state officials are allowed to set fires, and the common people are not allowed to light lamps? Your mouth. Zhou Mikang shook his head amusedly, when can you forgive me? Cut, Chu Xia curled her lips, if you can't say it, you say I'm not forgiving? It's clear that you are looking for trouble for nothing. Tell me quickly, what's wrong with me, and I'll go back if it's okay. Zhou Mikang's face darkened, is that why you bother me so much? It's not to bother you, you should be happy that I'm so serious about my work, Chu Xia said and shrugged, if you come, I won't be in the mood to go to work, and I'll walk around in front of you like a peacock. That's fine. What, doctor? Okay, you. I have 10 sentences waiting for one sentence. Zhou Mikang stretched out his hand from his pocket, and there was an extra piece of paper folded into 4 corners. I'll do it for you today, take. What? Chu Xia took it suspiciously, unfolded it, and saw a medical university admission notice written on it, and she quickly widened her eyes, you haven't taken the exam yet, so you just give the admission letter to me. I got it. It can't be fake, can it? After talking about Chu Xia, she was a little embarrassing again. This era is not the era when false certificates are flying everywhere in the future generations, and, with Zhou Mikang's identity, how can he do a fake one? Fortunately, the head of the group, Tongzi, was not angry, and patiently explained to her, I have included your previous academic performance and Director Song's evaluation of you. This is considered a special matter, and it cannot be regarded as a backdoor. A black line in early summer. So what does it mean to go through the back door? However, she doesn't have the tendency to be abused and insists on getting the admission notice with thousands of troops, and she doesn't feel that Zhou Mikang's doing this is an insult to her. She said with a wry smile, thank you. But be at ease, don't be afraid that others will replace me again. Dare to love, what happened last time still left a shadow. Zhou Mikang shook his head amusedly, as far as you are now, who dares to push you? Unless they feel that they are living too comfortably and want to find something to suffer. That's right. We now have some backing, so what's there to be afraid of? Chu Xia carefully folded the admission notice with a smile. Tell me, can I walk sideways in the future and no one will bully me? Zhou Mikang nodded with a smile, if you find it convenient to walk, you can walk sideways, I have no objection. Hate, Chu Xia glared at him, and ran back happily. She was in a really good mood, because it was directly written on it that she could only take the exam, and the school would send her class notes every once in a while. This is really a feeling of home service. Zhou Mikang, thank you. Shouts came from a distance, Zhou Mikang's mouth curled up, and then he turned around and got into the car to start the ignition, and the car drove out quickly. When he returned to the meeting room, no one was there, and Zhou Jingping was left sitting there alone. The other party glared at him, why is it so urgent? Can't wait until the meeting is over. No, Zhou Mikang shook his head, Dad, is everything settled? Yeah, Zhou Jingping nodded, then shook his head again, your uncle still didn't pass, hey, that girl of his is too worrying, besides making trouble or causing trouble, this time, it's alright, even her father's military uniform they're all going to be messed up. Zhou Mikang frowned, what's wrong with Yamiru again? She wanted to study medicine, but both your grandfather and Uncle disagreed. Then, she secretly went to the Huang family and asked the other party to go through the formalities for her. She gave birth to a child named Huang. The Huang family agreed, but the requirement was that she must live in the Huang family and be taken care of by the Huang family. Her family could visit her if they missed her. As a result, she really lived in the past. Her mother and grandma took care of her. She sent it over. What do you mean it was seen by others? Grandma Ye and Aunt Jiang think that Uncle Ye and Grandpa Ye are living too comfortably. Zhou Mikang shook his head helplessly. Dad, why do you think Grandpa Ye married such an uneasy person? Hey, Zhou Jingping patted Zhou Mikang's back with his big hand. Without saying anything, Lu Lingmei also came out of his family. What can I say? Marrying a daughter-in-law means the safety of the family. If the marriage is good, nothing will happen. If the marriage is bad, there will be many disasters. In this regard, the son has a better vision than everyone else, so he thinks he has no reason to reconcile. What the son said, the son lived better than him. By the way, Dad, there is something I've always wanted to ask you. Didn't you agree to Mom and help her out? As a result, Qin Zionji is still bullying Mom up to now. If Dad is inconvenient, I will do it. You. Zhou Jingping looked at him amusedly. Are you trying to vent your anger on your mother, or on your daughter-in-law? All of them. Anyway, I can't let those irrelevant people bully my relatives. Dad, you are not as good as me in this regard. You promised Mom, how can you not do it? Zhou Jingping sighed. How do you know I didn't do it? What did you do? Zhou Mikang asked back. At my age, I can't go to Jiang's house and yell at Qin Zionji, can I? Think about it, what are you most afraid of for a person like her? The most frightening thing, Zhou Mikang thought for a while and said, the most frightening thing is that Zhang Xinyu would not want her anymore. This is one aspect, and another aspect. Zhou Jingping smiled faintly. What she is most afraid of is the reduction of her status, and her status was brought to her by Zhang Xinyu. Then, what do you think I should do to hit her the hardest? Zhou Mikang thought about it for a while, and there was a smile on his face. Dad, I can't see it. You also have bad times. Yes, you have made progress. If Dad was willing to think like this before, Xiao Rao would not have left. Speaking of this, the faces of both of them became depressed, and Zhou Mikang also regretted which pot he did not open and which pot to carry. This is a knot that has been tied between him and his father for many years. It's hard to disappear. Are you still blaming me? Zhou Jingping asked with a long sigh. Dad, I don't. Zhou Mikang was a little embarrassed. I really didn't mean it, but I just thought of it. I said it casually. I know that Dad feels very uncomfortable. I'm still suffering, sorry. Actually, I'm still blaming myself. Zhou Jingping smiled sadly. Sometimes, there is a price to pay for growing up, but this price is too heavy. Regret will accompany me for the rest of my life. It won't be okay. If time can be turned back, I would rather bear the infamy and save my daughter. Dad, let me tell you the truth. Even if I say I forgive Dad, I still feel a little uncomfortable. This matter is like a thorn stuck in the flesh. It has been picked out, and the pus has not been squeezed out yet. Whether to pierce the pustules and squeeze the pus out, or to keep the surface nice and make the pustules bigger and bigger, and eventually erode our flesh and blood, we have to make a decision. It may be painful to pierce again, but if you want to live healthy, you must do this. I am ready, Dad. How about you? Are you ready? Zhou Jingping looked at his son in confusion. He didn't know what his son meant. Zhou Mikang picked him up and walked out. People who passed by smiled and greeted the father and son. Zhou Mikang let go of his hand, and the father and son went out into the yard one after the other. Get in the car, Zhou Mikang said as he opened the door and sat in the driving seat. Zhou Jingping roughly understood what he meant. He wanted to go up, but his legs were a little too heavy to move. Zhou Mikang looked at him expressionlessly. Dad, you have to take this step. With a heavy sigh, Zhou Jingping forced himself into the car. Sure enough, Zhou Mikang brought him to his daughter's tomb. Over the years, he only dared to come here on the anniversary of his daughter's death. Every time, he passed out at the tomb, or it was his way of escaping from the past. The whole family I have chosen to acquiesce to this, and now, it is time to force myself to face it. He was thinking like this in his heart, but his mind started to roar, which was a precursor to fainting. Seeing that he was not in the right state, Joe Mikang said, "Dad, you have to let yourself face it. Avoiding it won't solve the problem." Joe Jingping gritted his teeth. What flashed in his mind was the image of his little daughter from childhood to adulthood. Every frown and smile was so clear that he felt his heart ache. "Why are you here again?" Looking at Joe Mikang, who appeared at the door again, Chu Xia's voice was a little bit impatient with doubts. "Qin Mei will have an operation tomorrow, and she, the third assistant, is very busy, isn't she?" "Dad is in the hospital." Joe Mikang's voice was somewhat ethereal. Do you want to go and see him?" Chu Xia suddenly stood up. "What disease? Where are you now?" Song Xiao also quickly raised her head to look at Joe Mikang at the door with an anxious expression on her face.